Hello, captains. Welcome back. It is time again for our limited time reset. But today we are also going to go over a few of the patch notes that have been released for Skull and Bones because there have been quite a few nerfs and buffs that have been implemented as of today. So, before we get started, as always, make sure you pop right in, get your free gift, and add it to your inventory. Alright, and now let's go ahead and get into the game. Alright, so as we arrive here to William Blackwood on the limited time rotation, we have ourselves some furniture and some weapons and some armor. Same as always. For furniture, you're looking at the leather station, charge stores, and the raised quarter deck. Oh, and we have one more, Freeman's Embrace. Actually, not a bad piece of furniture. Has a nice perk that will just spread effects to others that you ram. Pretty cool. Also, for armor, we have the Immortal Vessel. This is actually a really good armor that will help your ship keep from being destroyed at least one time, and then it has a 180-second cooldown that'll get you back. That has to reset before it can happen again. For weapons, the Hongyi Pow, good for anyone who's making taunt builds. Crouching Tiger goes with the Hongyi Pow, also good at taunting. And we have the Phoenix Talons, which these don't taunt, right? Okay, I was like, do these also taunt? No, these are just fire Dardanel's fire demi cannons that have a nice perk that'll just instantly do more damage if the target is already on fire. Now, that's all we're looking after there. Now, we did swap out the Garuda for the Battle Junk, so anyone who has not added the Battle Junk to their collection, this is the week to do it. Do not sit on your hands and forget to pick this up. It is something that may not be available after the week is done. And with the limited time section out of the way, we're going to go over a couple of items in the patch notes for the maintenance that we just had. I will be honest, unfortunately, because I record this from my PlayStation, chances are all you are seeing right now is the title screen and the options inside of that. Sadly, again, I do this from my PlayStation. I don't do it from PC, so you won't be able to see everything I'm seeing. But just know that I'm reading these right from the link that will be provided in the description, so if you want to read these yourself, have at it. But the first thing that it says on here, it goes over essentially the reason why we're getting some of the nerfs that we're getting, and it's because of the PvP mode, straight up. This mode needs to be balanced, and unfortunately, the game that we play does not have two separate sandboxes, one for PvE and one for PvP. So that means that every single thing in this game going forward that is too powerful inside of PvP, it will be nerfed over here, and we'll feel it in the PvP zone. It sucks. It is something that I hated about being someone who played Destiny for years. It is literally one of the things that completely changed the game once the developers pulled their heads out of their asses and realized that these two things are complete separate entities. So I'm hoping that happens over there again. Sorry for the rant. But furniture changes. Bloody Red is up first. The threat generation of this furniture got an increase. Right now, anytime you have this armor on, you actually draw more threat generation. It used to be 50%, now it's 60%. It also increases the taunt bonus threat that you generate from 25% up to 40%, and it increases the threat generation that you make from 10% up to 25%. So very good at drawing attention the way that, Battle Junk should work. Brower's Powder House also got a buff, increased the AoE radius of the mortar from 7% to 10%, and increased the reload time reduction of the mortar from 5% down to 7%. Breachlock Furnace is one of our new pieces of equipment that literally just got added into the game, and it's already being nerfed again because of PvP. It has reduced the charge rate of the shell shock on enemies from 7% now up to down to 5%. Reduce the damage increase for shell shock on a target. It used to be 5%, it is now 3%. So very small changes, but I'm sure you'll notice that it takes a little bit longer to get enemy shell shock with this furniture. But they also reduce the secondary damage increase based on the distance to the target. It used to be 30%, it is now 20%. Braced gun walls reduce the incoming secondary damage reduction while anchored from 50% down to 20%, which is absolute trash because why wouldn't my snow want to protect itself in PvE? Company screens have been buffed though, increase the incoming area effect damage reduction of enemy ships from 15% to 20, increase the incoming burning charge reduction from 7% to 10, increase the max hull health from 3% to 5%. Copper Fashioning Station also got a nerf, reduced the secondary damage of electric weapons from 15% down to 12. Density Furnace got a buff. Looks like it is increasing the flood charge rate from 8% to 12%, and also the same numbers for the increased flooded duration. Devil's Concoction got a nerf, reduced the secondary damage of burning weapons from 15% down to 12. It says something about dynamic ballast control. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but also reduced the secondary damage reduction based on distance to attacker from 40% down to 30%. Just love these nerfs. Drowned One's Toll, this has got an increase. Increased the amount of whole health restored per second by a literally a cunt hair. From 0.25 to 0.28, which is just insane. Increase the max whole health increase from 5% to 8%, increase the crew stamina recovery while out of combat from 3% to 6%. They literally could have left this piece of furniture alone. Dynamic ballast control, which was also in Devil's Concoction. That must have been a typo. It has had its secondary damage reduced based on distance from the target. What are you doing here? I see what's happening. I think dynamic ballast control just got put down twice. So Devil's Concoction only had its secondary damage of burning weapons reduced from 15% to 12, and then dynamic ballast control had its ability reduced. The secondary damage reduction based on distance to attacker, that was the one that got the hit from 40% down to 30. Sorry for the weird confusion, but whoever does these is absolutely terrible at typing and proofreading their own stuff. Expanding Corkscrew Station did get a nerf, reduced the secondary damage of flooding weapons from 15% down to 12. Fusing Station, also a new piece of gear that just got added during our last event, so this thing hasn't even made it a full month, and it has its reduction, the reload time reduced for the front and rear weapons. It used to be 12%, now it's down to 9%, and it also reduced the secondary damage increase for front and rear weapons from 15% down to 9%. Fun. Huback Tuning Rack, all of our torpedo furniture did get a buff. Increased the maximum range of the torpedoes from 12 to 14%. Increased the arming distance from 20% to 25%. Increased the projectile speed from 8 to 10%. Nothing wrong with that. High velocity kegs got kicked in the dick. We got a reduction. Secondary damage of piercing weapons is down to 12%. Used to be 15%. Joinery Workshop also got its dick punched. Reduced the damage, reduced the repair amount increase from repair weapons from 10% to 6%, because why would supporting other captains be a good thing to do in PvE? Mark of the Wolf reduced the shell shock charge rate increase from on a target that has a blaze from 100% for 10 seconds down to 50% for 7 seconds. Way to completely cut the balls off of the wolf there. Maintained Arsenal, increased the auxiliary weapon damage from 10% down to 13%. I'm sorry if I sound all spicy about these, but it just really is annoying in a predominantly PvE game how all these PvP nerfs are here. It's just frustrating. Maintained Arsenal, increased the auxiliary weapon damage from 10% to 13%. That's pretty cool. Quick drink of water. Munitions Mixer, reduced damage reduction. Reduced the damage reduction for flooded and ablaze effects applied to enemy ships from 30% down to 20%. Again, that's just something else to do messing with flooding and ablaze. Plaguebringer's Ward also got a buff. Reduced the Plaguebringer's Ward. Yeah, reduced the reload time. Oh no, Plaguebringer's Ward. Sorry, this is something completely different. Wow, reduce the reload time reduction of toxic weapons from 15% down to 7. Reduce damage increase for toxic weapons from 8% down to 4%. Sorry, it just was catching me off guard how hard this one was. Ramrod Workshop, also a new piece of equipment we just got. Reduce the reload time reduction of broadside weapons from 15% down to 7. Reduce the secondary damage increase dealt by broadside weapons, also from 10% down to 7%. Man. Shell Packing Station, reduced area effect increase of bombard weapons from 7 to 5%. Same thing with the reload time reduction of the bombard weapons, down from 7%, down 5% from 7. Spike Station, increase the chance to reduce repair effects on the target from weak point hits from 25 up to 40. That's actually pretty good. I thought this would be a good piece of equipment, but you just couldn't proc the debuff often enough, so that's a good change. Signal Gong, this has also got a boost, increases the damage boost of crew attack from 15% to 20%. Tuning Station, that's the other torpedo furniture I mentioned. This one is getting the secondary damage of torpedoes boosted from 17 to 20%. Projectile speed goes from 10 to 13%, and the crew stamina restored per second while out of combat goes to 10%, up from 5. Tooling's Guidance also reduced or got a nerf. We now only have a reduction for a reduced reload time reduction of front weapons is now at 5%. It used to be at 7%. And also the Worm's Breath Turner, which is also a new piece of furniture, I believe, from this season, reduces the reload time increased on the target. Oh God, yeah. So the shell shocked. Anytime you got someone shell shocked while you had the Worm Breath Turner, they could not shoot at you for 20 seconds. But now I just moved it down to 10. Reload time. Oh no, it increases their reload time. And it used to be for 20 seconds. Now it's only for 10. So once they get done being shell shocked, they have a reduction to their reload time, and yeah, it just doesn't last longer. Also, they reduced the secondary damage, the explosive secondary damage of weapons. That increase was at 25%. It is now down to 10. Ship changes are next, right after weapon changes. Carronade got a damage increase by 10%. Demi-cannons got a boost by 15%. Dardanelles got a nerf of 15%. Fire long guns 1 through 3 and long guns 1 through 5 had all of their damage reduced by 5%. Lepeaker 1 through 3, all of their damage has been reduced by 15%. Skurlock's long 9s are the same, and any other long gun not mentioned here also had its base damage reduced by 10%. I am looking at you, Divine Thunder. Seafire increased the base damage of all Seafire weapons by 10%. Hooray for me, because I'm probably one of the only people, or one of the few people I should say, that actually use Seafire weapons. Ship changes, these are good. Well, some of them are good. For the barge, they have increased the wildfire perk. It goes from 20% to 35%. That's the damage increase you get. Also, the ablaze charge rate goes from 150 to 175%. If you don't know what the barge is, it is one of the smaller ships that is designed for setting ships on fire or using fire for its perk. The brig has had its artificer perk increased, which is good for me because I like the brig. The buoy effectiveness cap goes from 30% to 40%, so basically every target that your buoy hits, its effectiveness goes up. So now that's up from 30% to 45%, and increase shot from 2% to 3%. Same thing, it just increases the effectiveness just faster. The evolved perk also got a buff. You get a weapon damage and a repair amount from auxiliary weapons is now up to 15%. It used to be at 10%. The Garuda has completely been kicked in the dick as well. Reduced the Deadeye perk weapon damage. It used to be at 80%. It is now down to 60%. The Hulk has been buffed. Increased Ironclad perk. The armor increase you get after bracing was 250%. It is now at 350. Increase the ironclad perks brace strength from 250% to 275%, and increase the iron will perk armor increase for yourself and allies from 150 to 300. So anytime a Hulk is around, it gets a increase to its armor as well as friendlies. The schooner is the last ship that also get nerfed. Reduced the Fury perk's chance to trigger. It used to have a 30% chance to trigger, now it is 20%. And when it does trigger, it's even been reduced more because the broadside weapon damage boost you got from Fury was 25%. Now it is down to 20. And last here, I actually didn't mean to read all of these, but here we are. Armor changes, Celestial Dance. It got an increase for the electric damage dealt. It used to be 1600, now it's up to 1850, and the armor rating got moved from 1150 to 1210. Crimson Lotus, it got an increase. The piercing and explosive resistance has gone up to 27%. Used to be at 25, pretty negligible to me. Why not just put a full 5 to 10% on all of these armors? I really don't think we would be, even in the fight any longer than we are now, because the debuffs we take are really are just aggressive. Hayden's Guard, another piece of armor. Ember Ward, its perk, it increases the reduction in damage by burning weapons from 25% to 30%, and additionally increases the reduction from 25% to 30% while bracing. Armor increase from 1150 to 1210. Oh, this is the new armor. Okay, so it increases the reduction of burning weapons from 25% to 30. Gotcha. Okay, and you also get 30% while bracing, an additional 30%. Got it. Leviathan. This is the one that speeds you up. It increases the armor rating generated by each not sailed by a negligible amount, and the impenetrable perk it has, which increases weak point damage reduction, goes from 25% up to 35%. So while you're wearing this, you have an increase to your weak point reduction. Phoenix Crest, increase the charge rate of the taunted status on attacking enemies by 25%. Increase the explosive resistance from 10% to 15%. Rhapsody of the Deep, it got, let's see, an increase. Reduction to damage for the torpedoes has been boosted. Used to be 25%, now it's 30%. And it also got an increase to that same thing while bracing. So yeah, you can protect yourself against torpedoes a lot more with this armor, even more while bracing. Armor increase went from 1100 to 1160. Stormwoven Symphony, you can now attack with that Sonic Blast. It does more damage. It used to do 6,000, now it does 7,200, and it goes up to 150 meters. It used to only be 125. Armor rating 1120, now at 1180. Wrathful Ward. This one helps you with the poison. Let's see, it increases the poison damage dealt by the Noxic Cloud. So you take damage while you're bracing. You leave a noxious cloud behind you that does damage. That used to be 4,500, now it's at 5,000. Armor rating went from 1120 to 1180. And then the Wailing Ward, the one that protects you against the noxious attacks from the Lepes people. Let's see. Connected armor description was showing description of Wrathful Ward. They literally said nothing about it. The armor rating went from 1120 to 1180, and I was hoping that we were going to be taking less damage from Toxic, but it doesn't say anything for there. Okay. Last things, mod change. The Cell Ripper. Reduce the weapon damage applied when the Torn Cells is activated from 400%. It used to be 400 to 600%. It is now 225% with a maximum of 350%. So, Cell Ripper. You will not be doing as much damage whenever that perk activates. Balances for AI. This is good. The Plague Prince mortars have been, their accuracy has been reduced, so they don't hit you with every single target or attack like they do now. And the poison of the mortar, the AoE, has been reduced by 25%. So again, when they show up, it should be less of everybody's just bail. You should all be able to focus and take these guys down a lot better. Also for the AI, the thickened hulls. This is one of those affixes that, let's see, lowered the health bonus from 15% down to 10. Let's see here, adaptive defenses. Yes, this is the one I believe that when they get health back. So lowered the chances for all adaptive affixes from 21% down to 10% on receiving secondary damage. Fix an issue, let's see, when it was incorrectly displayed. When rammed, the ship takes an additional 7 times damage. So yeah, any of these affixed ships, if you ram them, they take 7 times more damage than usual. And then when this ship receives secondary damage, its hull can be repaired by 500% of the secondary damage taken. Again, it used to happen 21% of the time. Now it can only happen 10. It will still happen. So you see these. This mostly happen at Houston. Anytime those large level 20 ships show up, they are the ones that this buff affects. So when they show up now, anyone who has explosive damage should literally just leave them alone and let everyone who has non-explosive damage attack them, or whatever the adaptive offense is. You know, use your scope so you can see what it is. But even if you aren't paying attention to this, you'll notice that that health that they receive is going to happen less because it is now down to 10%. But that is it, Captain. Again, I did not plan on reading the entire bit of patch notes, but as I started reading them, I just got more frustrated and just wanted to see what they were. I read it last night, but I read it last night, so I'd already forgotten. But now that it's fresh in my mind and in yours, jump to the comments. Let me know how you feel about this. As I said at the beginning of this, I am just not a fan. It is all because of the PvP mode, which should have just had its own separate sandbox. I imagine it was easier for these guys to put the game together this way, the developers, but this was just one more nail in the coffin for this mode. I really hope it doesn't make it out of the next season. I hope none of you are playing it. I hope it gets completely retired so we can focus on things that are important, like the second half of the map that we're probably not going to get because there's so much focus on PvP. I'm sorry, I didn't mean this to get all grumbly. Like I said, I'm waffling. Jump into the comments. Let me know how you feel. I have been Cash the Stampede, and we'll see you out there in the seas, Captain. Take it easy.